Oh, hi there. I'm Kat. Thank you for joining me for Chat with Kat. We're going on a journey and having conversations with people from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. And during this journey, we're going to probably laugh and smile. We'll have moments of compassion and cry. We may be angry or feel confronted, and we may be amazed and just need to ponder. So, whatever the emotion is that comes up, let's take a moment to breathe and ask ourselves why we're feeling this. And also, let's ask, what can I learn from this? So go ahead and like, share, subscribe to this, and make sure that your friends and family and colleagues and anyone you feel could get something from this gets to see this. So let's get on with our journey with Chat with Kat.
Well, hi, Anja. I am so happy to actually see you. Oh my goodness, we've had a bit of a journey this morning.
Hi, Kat. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. So I know we know each other through Self-Perfected, and I don't know if we actually met in person or not, but we're in the group together. But why don't you just tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Where to start? Should I give you the long version?
You give me whatever version you want.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I'm Anja. I was born in Germany, in the so-called middle class in Germany in the 80s. And yeah, I grew up there. On the surface level, it seemed that we had everything what we needed. But under the surface, there was I would say an oppressive silence that, like, when I grew up as a child, for me, I realized here's something wrong. It's just something wrong. But I couldn't name it. Obviously, I had no words for it, and so you take the things as you get it, and you think it's normal. And during all the years, like the school years and then the teenage years, I started to struggle with myself. I thought that it's me. There's something wrong with me. That was like my conclusion, that obviously there is something wrong with me. Things just didn't make sense to me. And I remember that I felt really confused as a teenager. And it came to the point when I was 16, I had a breakdown, a nervous breakdown. And I asked my mom for help. I told her I need some help. I cannot handle it anymore for myself. I would so many thoughts and so many questions about life, and I had no answers, and nobody could give me answers. And I had this breakdown, and my mom brought me to a psychiatrist, and that was actually a pivotal point in my life where things gone into a new direction, I would say. Like I asked the doctor, what's wrong with me? And the doctor told me, yeah, well, you have depressions. Okay, I have depression. So the label was on. And yeah, that was the point where my personal journey of searching started. So I start digging into the topic of psychiatry and psychology and try to understand what was wrong with me, why I had all these thoughts, why I, like with 16, I had suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to live anymore. And yeah, I started searching there must be a solution for it, because for me it was like, this is not normal and there must be a solution for it. So that was my thrive to find a solution. And yeah, well, like more than 20 years down the road, it brought me to the group where we are together in now. So it's been quite of a roller coaster during all this time. Like, for example, as I said, I started with learning more about psychology, and I kind of get answers, but it never brought me to the point that I could really overcome this depressive episode. So I suffered from those episodes like 20 years, once or twice a year. And what I did, I think it was my luck, or maybe, yeah, because for me, I never saw a solution in medication. So I never took like medication, like pharmacy. But I tried the way of self-medicating myself with weed and alcohol. So that's actually the coping mechanism I learned in my family. Yeah, my parents drank every evening. They drank beer, and that was actually the coping mechanism I learned. So I look back on a time of like, over 20 years of drug addiction. And when I was like 20, I already knew I have a problem with addiction. So that, because I also know, okay, this is not the best solution to take the drugs to try to cope with what we call life. I called it life this time, but yeah, it actually was for me the point that this cannot be life. I mean, there must be something else, that because what I lived during this time felt like a burden, with the depression and with the society and how everything was. Then another important event in my life was that my mom got cancer, and she died when I was 21. So that was I used to say that was the worst time in my life, because when she died, I didn't felt as an adult that can stand up for themselves or live for themselves. Like I felt like a child, really. So I was 21, and I haven't really found practical answers in psychology and psychiatry. I was in my apprenticeship becoming a therapist. My mom died, and I was like, that was the nadir of my life, I would say. That, no answers, no solutions. And then I dive more and more in the spirituality. So I found kind of hope and a hold in spirituality. And this is where a path started, where I learned yoga. I made a shamanic apprenticeship. So during all the years, I learned a lot of different techniques. I worked with my inner child. I did shadow work. I did breath work. I learned Reiki. I learned so many things, like always looking for healing. I really wanted to heal myself. That was my starting point. I want to be healed. I want to be like a whole human. And one question that always pulled me to search more was the question, what is the true nature of human? What is our true nature? That was like a question that was always in my mind and brought me through this whole path. So and then with 32, I met my husband. I met Bastian, and that was like, it's another huge chapter. We have a really like touching story together. Maybe we can have a call one day together with him. It's a whole other story what we went through in the last 9 years. And we left Germany together. We are living in Paraguay since 8 years now, and wow, we were in a pit together. I would say, like, we had a big crisis like 4.5 years ago. And that was really like, that was the pivotal point that brought us to the group, that brought us to Self Perfected, that brought us to the tool. now I'm using TechnoTutor for 4 years now, and the self-forgiveness process. And yeah, I can honestly say that this tool and the group, it changed everything. It changed my whole life. I finally found the healing that I was looking for so long, and also the group of people I think I was looking for this group my whole life, like people that really want to have an impact and really want to change, and not just, yeah, pay lip service for really changing something in the world, right? And yeah, I used to say I had to get 39 to really understand on a really deep level why I was suicidal with 16, why I had these depressions, and understand the whole pattern in a depth that I could finally change it. And yeah, this is the most beautiful thing for me, that I feel so stable now. I overcome the addiction. I don't drink alcohol, don't smoke weed for a couple of years now. And yeah, I'm so stable now, and also with Bastian and our relationship, that we finally, after many years of trying, now we are pregnant and we're expecting our first baby pretty soon. So yeah, my whole life took a complete 180, I would say. So yeah.
Oh man, that is so amazing. I think a lot of people are like that. Like we grow up with these tools, what we think are tools in our life and the way to live, and that's how we cope with life, right? We don't know any better. So it's so amazing to hear your story of where you were and and how you're like now a completely different person and not needing to have those crutches as a tool anymore and overcoming it. And also being able to be emotionally stable and not have the depressions that you were having, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the most important. Like, I always had in my mind, like, I want to be stable before I have kids. I knew I really want to have kids. I knew it since I was a teenager that I want to have kids. But there was a really intense fear within myself that I would give to my kids the burden I felt that this life would be, like the depression and the fears and the addictions, and also my parents. Like, my father died 8 years after my mom, so both died very young. Like, both didn't hit the 60. So that was for me a point where I said to myself, I want to live differently. Really want to make it different. And yeah, it took me like 20 years to figure it all out to finally, like, it. I think that I got pregnant this year was an intense process the last 3 years, like a lot of different topics I worked on with our tools, that all, it actually comes all together to this specific point, that a deep allowance from within gave me the, yeah, like, conception is something of, you have to be receptive as a woman, yeah, to be able to conceive, right? It's a natural thing. Actually, it's one of the, yeah, the normal thing. This is life, yeah, we are creating life. But there were so many fears and bullshit stories I had put on myself, and I was telling myself for over 20 years, that it really kept me from conceiving. And I know I'm absolutely convinced that this whole process brought me to the point that I really, like, came to the point that it's possible for us now. Yeah. Yeah.
That's such an interesting thought that, and not, I don't think it's just a thought. I think this is actually tied to reality. I could be wrong, but that your thoughts actually created your circumstance where it's like, I can't become pregnant because I have all these things in my mind about what it means to be a mother, or how I don't want to raise my child, and being so stuck in those maybe fears and the pain even that you might have had, because our parents only do the best that they can do with what tools they have, right? So
You know, it's just, I think it's just incredible that you had those thoughts. You managed to like actually work through these thoughts and realize like my thoughts are actually what's stopping me from having what I want right now.
Yeah, I think the thoughts on the surface level, but deep and unconscious, the programming, what I like accepted and allowed myself to program myself, like what I was thinking, what life is, what I was thinking, what yeah, making a living, for example, like also the financial point. Yeah, we struggled a lot when we left Germany. So I think there are a lot of dimensions in this topic that, and also I think we are so, like my generation, we are so imprinted with thoughts and stories about, it's the world is so bad and you cannot bring kids into this world, and it's so expensive to have kids. Like there are so many points that keep us from, and also maybe the idea of I can be, so I can live a life in freedom if I don't have kids and blah 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 blah. So like I think our parents didn't really think so much about this. They just got pregnant, they just had kids. And like I think in the generations that are coming now, we are so much more imprinted with, yeah, I would say like to feel that life is a burden. It's such a burden, and we cannot, because everyone is suffering more or less in a way, even it's financially or in relationship or communication. Like I talk to so many different people, and like even if I said like I felt so confused as a child and as a teenager. I felt so confused. I had no answers. I was like, well, what's this life here? Why am I here? What I'm supposed to do? So and this changed drastically through this process. Yeah, there's so much clarity now, and that and Bastian and I, we are able to give this to our daughter. That changes this, like the starting point completely changes, and that gives me so much assurance in everything, that yeah, it's everyone should have these tools to figure things out for themselves, really.
You know, it's so interesting that everybody kind of in their own words have either used imprinting or programming or, you know, thoughts, beliefs, but everybody is in our group kind of says the same thing, or at least they have in the chats that they've done with me, right? And I don't think people really understand how deep that it actually is in our lives. They hear programming, they hear imprinting, they hear the thoughts and beliefs, and I think a lot of people think this is just something like either it's a woo-woo thing or it's just a very superficial kind of like, oh, just change your thoughts. You know, you hear like the self development gurus all say, oh, you just need to change your thoughts, right? But I mean, is it?
And we did this. Like I was on this path for, like as I said, 20 years. I just have to change my thoughts. I just have to change my vibration, my frequency, my energy. Like I was deep into this whole spiritual realm where you have all these words and the description how it. But even I remember I was asking my shamanic teacher, and because they were always saying, you just have to trust. You just have to trust. It's all within you. And I was angry, and I was like, how do I get there? it's so that there was really a gap, a knowing doing gap, I would say. Like, how do I get there? Okay, it's all in me. Yeah, but how can I get it out and have it clear? So there were so many words that were described, like follow your path, follow your soul and heart, and it was just not practical. And at one point we were so frustrated, Bastian and I, because when we left Germany, there were also like the huge point of financial instability. Like in Germany, we had a kind of a safe net, yeah, where we things still running, but it's also there are specific points where you don't have to take the responsibility for your life. And then you leave Germany. When we came to Paraguay, we hit rock bottom like quite a few times, where we realized, okay, we have to take fully responsibility. And that was actually a starting point from us. We really wanted to take responsibility. But even this point, it's a word, responsibility, and I wasn't aware about the point how fucked up my understanding of this word was. Like, I didn't realize that there was a deep fear connected to, like, really attached to the word responsibility. I thought I was already walking the path of self-responsibility, but there was a specific lack. I didn't have the capacity to really understand the depths, how this word was integrated within my whole being, like my whole system. And this is something, like, the people who use TechnoTutor, we have this learning doing the, like, we use this tool for quite a while, and then we realize more and more how like the deep integration of the words within us have an immense, like, the most impact on our lives. And I realized more and more that just on, like, with my thoughts, for example, creating a new idea about responsibility didn't get deep into the root in the unconscious. And this is really, like, I studied Joe Dispenza. I wrote books like gratitude books and affirmations, and I wrote it down. We wrote thousands of pages and did meditations. And I also learned hypnosis. Yeah, I worked with hypnosis because I thought I have to go to the unconscious. And I thought with hypnosis, I would go to the unconscious. But I was not aware that it's still, you are kind of going to the subconscious, but you're not getting that deep to the unconscious to really change on the fundamental base where the programming of us humans is. And I mean, we know this. I think most of the people know that we are in the first 7 years of our life, we get all the imprints from our parents, what they live, how they behave. This is all, we soak this all like a sponge, and we learn this. And I think a lot of people know it, but if you have never really get the chance to have this tool with which you can really rewrite your unconscious, you cannot, it's like, we have the saying, because we always try to find a metaphor to describe it to someone. If I tell you, I have the pizza place here, and this is the best pizza in the world, yeah, you would never know if you not come over and just try the pizza. So I can tell you, oh, this is the best pizza, but if you never try it, you will never know. And this is kind of how it works with this tool. So for me, it's just, I can just describe that how many different tools I learned, from meditation to hypnosis and even other different tools, and how I always got time looping. I always come back to, like, and sometimes I thought I changed. I now it's different. Now I changed. Now I feel released. Now it's but then after a while, sometimes a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months, I fell back into the pit. I was depressed again. So it always came back. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that there's like the subconscious, but then there's like the deep level unconscious, right? Which I don't think a lot of people are actually even aware of. They know conscious and they'll say conscious and unconscious, or conscious and subconscious, but I don't think people are actually aware there's a kind of like 3 levels to this, right? And you got to hit the really deep unconscious level to really affect the change. And you're right, there's so many tools out there, and some of it does help some. Like I'm sure, because I did the same thing. Like I was, looking and searching and trying to grow and going to different courses and taking different things and getting involved in different groups. And there's there was some change, you know, but not the big drastic change that I wanted, for sure. And it sounds like that was the exact same for you. It's like you went through all of these processes with different, mindsets and theories and everything else, and there was not giving you the exact change that you were looking for.
I mean, it all ties into the whole process of self-realization. So there were all steps, and I think I learned a lot. For example, just the breath work helps me so much now during my pregnancy, and I know it will help me during the birthing experience. So there are interesting different methods, but it's the deeper understanding. Like we cannot change something we're not understanding. If I don't understand a thing, I cannot change it. It's like you have a machine and it's broken and you want to repair it, and if you don't know what each specific piece is for, how will you ever repair it? And it's really to understand the own mind and the own programming, and it's slightly different in every person, but at the end of the day we are all quite similar programmed, I think. So it's when you get this deeper understanding of why we have these different layers of conscious and subconscious and unconscious, and what your specific story is about, how your parents act, what they said to you, what they imprinted you with. I mean, it's a good word to describe it. Yeah, how we are imprinted as how deep it is in the system. And if you really understand it, you can change it, and everyone can do it. But it's a path. It's not a quick fix. It's not like, as I thought before, I just can shake it off. It's not that way, because imagine if you have a deep imprinting, you cannot just shake it off. It's really, it's kind of work to do it. And I think if someone, like for me, I suffered so much from my, like, the bullshit thoughts. Like I had violence thoughts and suicidal thoughts. I really suffered from the thoughts I had. That brought me to the point of I do have to change. I must change this. I cannot stay this way, because when I stay this way, I just destroy myself, and I will die as early as my parents, and I cannot call it life. This is not alive. So that was my starting point, where I knew I want to change. And at the end of the day, it all starts with self, right? But why I really love this group so much, and I really dedicate my life to this, is that it's not ending with myself. Because I can change and I can create a life that is better than what I wanted for all the years, but now we're seeing the results and we are creating the life what we really want to have. And now we want to give back. We want that everyone has a cool life. Everyone should join the party and have a beautiful life. And this is so fundamental, that this is so profound, that we're not just stopping with, well, I have a cool life now and what else? No, we really have to change something here. If we really understand, or like, we as humans, we think we are the top of creation. When we really think this, then we must be able to take more responsibility for our fellow brothers and sisters, and for the earth itself, for the animals and plants, and for everything. So it cannot stop with just self, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is a very powerful starting point with self, because I don't know that we can really make that much of a difference if we're just focused on the outside all the time, right? I mean, you are who you are, but what is the saying? Wherever you go, there you are, right? So, you're right. You do have to look at yourself, and I think that's probably the hardest challenge a lot of people have, is because one, we don't know ourselves, or two, we do know, and there's a lot of darkness there that we just don't want to acknowledge and face and deal with. So it's better not to look inwards, and it's better to look outwards.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to find justification, excuses, and try to change something in the outer world. And it's also, I think, also how we are, again, how we are imprinted, how we are educated in a way that we always think we have to change something in the outer world. I mean, we left Germany. We flee kind of like really out of fear, wanting to escape the system in Germany. That was the starting point back then, right? It was not out of we take responsibility. So it was also part of the journey in the last couple of years to learn how easily I always go into the outside and want to change something outside or blame it on someone else instead of bringing it back to me and taking responsibility, like really self-responsibility. It's such an interesting word. Yeah, just this word alone is so fundamental to change and realize where I was not able to take responsibility. Because it's easy to say I take responsibility, it's easy to say I'm honest, but to really look at yourself and realize where you're not honest with yourself or where you're not yet able to take fully responsibility, you have to be willing to look at the dark side.
Yeah. That can be a very hard place to go. I know that for certain.
Yeah, the coolest thing is you don't have to do it alone. Like this is why we have this group, and this is why we all also say no one can walk this path alone, because it always tries to pull you back in the old, where it's so comfortable, like the old nice comfort zone. And it's a crucial part to have other people around you that support you and that help you to see things that you sometimes don't want to look at. Yeah.
And that's the great thing with this group, is that they will just be so blatantly honest with you, right? Because it's not out of spite and hate, it's actually out of care, like loving and caring for you personally, that they so deeply that they will call you out on what you're doing and try to help you face it so that you can be more powerful and move on and not keep looping, like you said, right? But at first, I think some people might get confronted by that because they're not used to such honesty coming from people who actually care. They're used to people being criticizing of them, and they supposedly care. They could be friends, they could be family, but when it comes down to it, there's probably something that they're trying to get from you, to get you to change your behavior or your thoughts, as opposed to actually wanting something that's better for you personally, right?
Yeah, I think it's, on the one hand, not everyone want to go this path. On the other hand, it's also such a deep what's the word, a deep distrust we already have between us. It's like you cannot trust anyone, and this is so, like, it's a virus that we isolate more and more. I see it like this is a development for so many years now, that we as humans isolate more and more. You cannot trust anyone, and like this virus of on the one hand you feel alone, and you really you really, really want so badly profound relationships and really exchange with people, but on the other hand, you're so in fear that someone will hurt you when you open up, you share something that they would take it against you. And so this is it always needs some courage to stand up for yourself, right? To really stand up. And like, for example, when you meet someone and this person is really calling you out and telling you something that in the first moment it hurts because it triggers you, and then be willing to take it and reflect on it. Just have to connect this here to charge. Like this, the willingness to take it and reflect on a point and realize this person actually has a good intention.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, maybe it's not possible. If you had so many traumas and bad experiences with people, it's a hard step, like to realize, okay, there's another person. Okay, now sometimes you have just to trust and make a decision, like to do something which you never did before, to invest money in yourself you never did before, and you invested money for yourself and you fall flat on your face several times. It's like, it's hard to do such a decision again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is actually what we think, that there's the spark, like the potential in every human, and that people that can hear us and hear the message that we share, they will be willing, even if they have fear, but they will be willing to make the decision for themselves and stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what's waiting is to make an experience where people really care and really, like, it's not just about what I want you to do, or like I want to manipulate you, and it's all what can I get out of this. So it's really, it's a point we are creating in this group, and I think we're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, just look at, we've got this community and we're global, right? Like, you're in Paraguay, I'm in Mexico, you came from Germany. We have people, in all across the US, Canada, Europe, Africa. I mean, we've got them everywhere, right? Australia, like everybody. And I don't know too many groups that you can really build relationships in that are that global either, right? Usually they're a little more local, even if it's just, your country. Maybe you're in a group or something, or a state or a county or an area. But the fact that we can actually build these real relationships globally, and half the time, like, we don't even meet each other in person until much, much later. Like, we'll go to an event, then we meet the person in person, but we've had all these Zoom calls before. We've had all these, conversations beforehand. It's not like this is a stranger anymore. It's like, oh, I finally get to, like, give you a big hug and you're, see you for real. But
This is so cool. Still, I mean, the most important thing is that we also create groups locally, because it's such a different story if you really can hug someone and sit together on a table. It's really, like, I think this is what really nurtures us humans. I think this is so important. And it's this virus of loneliness that people are like, it's not like why so many people commit suicide and live in depression and like really suffer silently in their homes. And this is also where we have to step in and say, like, we want to make a difference here. No one has to suffer in silence. But it is also working that we connect online, that we connect globally. So I think both is really important for this whole movement. But the most important thing is really to reach someone one-on-one, that you really build a connection. And as I said, not everyone would be open to hear the message, or like to be challenged in a way, like we do. I had this experience too, that I triggered people and they turn around. They don't want to talk to me anymore. So that was also a painful experience for me to realize the point that no, not everyone want to be, yeah, call out their bullshit, I would say. Some people just want to stay there where they are, but it's okay. I have to deal with it. I have, even in this, I have to take the responsibility for this and work through my own points, and yeah, stand up again and work further, right?
Exactly. And I mean, you mentioned a while ago that you moved from Germany to Paraguay about 8 years ago, and you had some really hard times when you were, starting off in Paraguay. So, I mean, that was obviously you started that journey before you started doing all this work. So, what is that like? What did that look like when you were struggling in Paraguay to like maybe, I don't know, being a little more comfortable or feeling more that this was a place for you?
It's a good question. Yeah, like imagine you leave your whole context, like your social background, your yeah, safe um net, like the country, the language you're speaking. A lot of people told us that it was quite bold that we did it. And then when we find ourselves here, like really in the pit and hitting rock bottom, there were so many existential fears that I was so agitated and anxious. There were times where I was like really depressed, obviously. And I mean, that was my pattern. And tried to cope with alcohol and smoking weed, like trying all the old coping mechanisms. And I felt so lonely. Like that was really, I mean, I had times in Germany where I felt lonely too, when I was in my own apartment and parents gone, like not so many friends that coming around looking for you. Like I really felt lonely in Germany too. And even back then I had the thought of, cannot be life. A human is not meant to be alone. Yeah, we are meant to live in a community with other caring people around us. Yeah. And then we came to Paraguay, and actually it was just a repetition of the whole pattern again, but it felt more intense because you left your safe place and your comfort zone. So it felt, I would say, a little bit more intense, if it can be. Like if you have like fears and you're working with anxiety, it's very a subjective impression that you have, right? So yeah, we felt quite fucked up in some years back then, and that was really, yeah, there were times where we just had each other, Bastian and I. We really, yeah, it was just the both of us, and we had to figure it out. There was, for us, it was not an option to go back to Germany. That was not on our screen. We really wanted to make it. And I mean, okay, you have the sun, you have the different climate. Yeah, it's quite different living in Paraguay than in Germany, right? So you give up a lot of comfort and, yeah, life standard, you can say. But on the other hand, you have more time, and time is like, this is actually the most valuable resource we have, right? And I was able to take the time when we made the decision to walk this path and to commit to use these tools. I had the time to do it, and that was a big gift I gave to myself, that I really dig deep into it and learned how to use the tools. And this is what I love so much about this process, because it's so practical. It's not something woo woo and you try something out and you hope it works and you feel a little bit released. It's not always that you always like you use it and then you feel better all the time, but it's not always about feeling better, but it's about really changing, and the whole changing process, it's not feeling easy all the time, right? So I think someone has to be willing to walk it. Like for me, my starting point, I was always willing to take some pain when I was sure, okay, it changes something. So I'm not afraid about walking through pain or walking through some shadows and deep times, you know. But that was, I don't know if not everyone is this way. Some people really don't want to have pain at all. So
yeah. Wow. And I mean, I'm kind of similar in the sense that I packed up and moved and left the country, left Canada. And I had zero intention of ever living there again, right? Like I'll go back and visit friends and family, but I have zero intention of living there. And it is a difficult journey to make to a new country, new culture, new language, and trying to get integrated into it, and feeling comfortable, right? Because when you do have that language barrier and that culture barrier, it does kind of keep you separated too, because who do you hang out with? Do you hang out with all the foreigners who are living there and try to find those people? Or did you move to the country because you actually want to be in the country and like with the people and with the culture, right? And then you're trying to hurry up and learn as quickly as you can so you can actually be in that country and part of a community, right? So I think it's, I've gone through that kind of difficult journey too. And unlike you, I did this alone. Like I had nobody, right? So at least you and Bastian had each other to kind of bounce off each other going, hey, this is kind of not good right now, but we want to make this work. Right. So, but I mean, that takes a different kind of person, I do think, who actually says, I'm leaving the place I know that's safe, that has all these things that I'm familiar with and have the resources for, to go to a different place and say, I'm going to make this work because there is something here that I want more than what's back where I came from.
what was your starting point?
Well, I mean, really, I like probably, let's say 10 years before I moved to Mexico, and I've been here 4 years now, so about 14 years ago, I really just wasn't feeling like Canada was home for me anymore. Like I felt like I needed to be somewhere else. And I was doing what you're supposed to do, like working a job, upgrading skills, getting certifications, trying to go the professional path. And I was in lots of groups, right? Lots of groups, and I was probably out and active every single night, and it just still wasn't feeling enough for me. It wasn't feeling like this is where I need to be. This is where I felt like I needed to be somewhere else to do what I needed to do, but I didn't know exactly what I needed to do yet. Like I had ideas, but when I was trying to put the ideas in place in Canada, I just kept falling flat on my face because I just didn't have that support network, or I thought I didn't have the support network, I should say. There probably was if I had actually just asked for it more, but I felt like there wasn't a support network to actually help me do what I wanted to do in Canada. But it wasn't that I was going to take those things and move it to another country and do those things there. It was just I really wasn't feeling like, when people talk about feeling like home, Canada was not feeling like a home for me anymore. It was a place I lived, right? It's where my friends and family were, but I didn't feel that this was where I was going to grow old and die, I felt that there was somewhere else I needed to be, but just didn't know where that looked like yet. And then, when COVID hit and and you're in that much more isolation, and especially with Canada, how strict it was, I was working with a remote company and they'd been remote for 10 years. And I kind of just had this decision, went, I want a better quality of life and this isn't it. And so I started looking, and I was either going to go to Eastern Europe or come to Mexico. And I was tossed, and then Canada crossed my line, and I went, that's it, I'm going to Mexico. And that was just a split decision. And it's just, I have a friend down here. So I messaged her and said, hey, where do you live? Oh, Cabo San Lucas. Great. That's where I'm coming.
So
And then
cool.
in less than 2 months, I was here. Now, I don't recommend moving to a country in less than 2 months. It's very stressful, but I did do it. So, but legally too, I should say. You know, I've got all my papers and documentations and visas to be here. So, yeah. But yeah, that was kind of how I got you know, left Canada. But it was one of those things, I think for me, I needed to have something very extreme happen that pushed me to leave because like you said, you're in this comfort zone. So, you know, yeah. But
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, a lot of people moved places. Like for me, I was just so happy that we've been already in Paraguay because, yeah, even though we during this time we suffered a lot, like having no money, to know how to make a living, and like with the relationship, we had problems to communicate, and but still, I was in a little house, safe. I never made such a test, and like there was a in a sense, I felt very safe during this time, and I tried to imagine how people in Germany would feel because obviously we've been in contact with people, and it must be so stressful. And I really don't know how I would handle the situation if I've been there. I really don't know. So that was for me a point. I was so glad that we had Germany had left so many years before, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's changed for you now that from you when you came to Paraguay and you were struggling and having a hard time making money, to where you are now? Like, what's changed for yourselves?
Everything. It's really it's so profound. It's like as you can imagine, when we found the group, we were at the deepest crisis in our relationship. I I cheated on Bastian, and I told him like half an hour later, and it was like, really, can we continue this relationship, or is it the end now? And but this was the pivotal point to Bastian. He made the decision. He got taken to tutor, and the first couple of months we really just worked on our relationship. We worked on our communication, and like the whole journey started. And the first year it was really intense. But then after a couple of months, when we kind of stabilized within the relationship, we focused more on the money point, and we figured that out. So we stabilized more and more also in the financial point. And it's like it really got better and better and better every day, every year, like 4 years back now. To look at, it's so interesting. We had friends here, and we were just talking about them, telling the stories where we've been. Like the first 3 years in Paraguay, we had no car, we had no vehicle at all. We were just walking. We were living in a very small apartment, and there were mold at the walls, and it was like really in circumstances that are, yeah, hard to imagine for someone who grew up in Germany, yeah, in a complete different standard. And now we just moved 2 months ago. We moved to the capital. We are in a very, I would say, well situated barrio here. We have a pretty big house now that we rent. We have a beautiful garden with a pool. I love this pool now because it's summer here in Paraguay, and now with my baby bump, I can just stick my belly in the pool. And yeah, also like the pregnancy brought us so close together. Um, like really everything changed. It's also funny because we married 3 times, Bastian and I. The first the first 2 times we had a shamanic ceremony, and that was in Europe. Um, the first was on Mallorca, on the island, on the beach. Like it was really, it was beautiful. Um, And then 3 months later, we had another shamanic ceremony in Germany. And yeah, then 1 year later, we left Germany. We came to Paraguay. We hit rock bottom, and we fell down in the pit with everything. And then when we managed the crisis and we were able to change so much, then we married a third time here in Paraguay, like officially, with the paper. And that was really a sign for us to, we showed ourselves, okay, now we start a new relationship with each other. We overcome the whole crisis, and now our starting point is not like based on feelings and like how most of the people, and even I in the past, I started my relationship based on feelings. Now we came to the group and we were introduced to the principles, and the principle of creating your relationship on agreements. And this is why we did the third marriage, to commit each other to this path, and also to we gonna walk this path together based on principles. And we're gonna figure it out. We will find the best way of living together. And we also had the starting point of, we want to have kids, and we want to give them the best education we possibly can. And like, I knew that I can only do this if I am stable, if I figure out my, like, the addiction and the depression. I can just give in the best way when I'm stable for myself. And that was the starting point. And it really changed so much. And we're still in the process. We're not stopping. So we know that we can build so much more together. And this is the coolest thing, when you're as a couple, a man and a woman, and you're together and you really are on the same page and walk this path together. I'm absolutely sure that you can create everything. You can do everything together. You have such a creative power together, that we're still unfolding the potential. And this is all due to this process, to the tools, and to the support of the group, that we can do it. And I love walk this path so much, because it's still unfolding. We're not like done with everything. We're still in the process, and we're really want to build something. We really want to have an impact and change something in this world fundamentally. That's a big point. And sure, we have a lot of work to do. It's not easy peasy, but if you have the basics, you figure the basics out, and you're not struggling so much in your daily living so much, because you are financially stable and you are in the relationship, you are stable, then a whole new path opens up, where you can go then. And obviously, this is why we said it before, you always start with self. First, you have to stabilize yourself before you can give and create something bigger. And this is really our mission, what we are doing here.
I love the fact that first of all, that you got married 3 times, because there were different reasons each time. I love that. I think that, everyone should take a note of that. If they're in a good relationship, they should just think about, hey, can we make it better and get married again? Start at a different point, start at a new point. That's even better than before. I love that. But I know you're both working on this together and you have your commitments and agreements together with and for some people, this is going to sound very strange. I think a lot of people, because they're like like you were, basing everything on emotion. How do I feel about this person? How do I feel about the situation? Right? Instead of actually looking a bit deeper and at commitments and agreements. which is a whole big conversation we can have right there, and really go deep on that. But I think just important for people to understand that that is very different from having a feeling about something or towards someone and being in that moment, and then having a commitment and agreement with that person or with that situation, and the actual how much deeper that goes than just feelings, right? um but obviously we're all human, and you're in this relationship, you and Bastian are still going to have disagreements, right? So what does it look like now when you're having a disagreement than before?
Good question. What definitely changed is that we're not going into the blame mode so rapidly. Like in the past, it was more like blaming the other. And for myself, I really had a topic with anger. Like I could be very angry and like bursting like a volcano, I used to say. And that became so much better that I don't take it personally that fast. Yeah, that we have a disagreement and then we talk about it. Like it is as if I have more words now to describe and not need to go into the intense emotions so fast, like anger and control and blaming the other. It's more that the both of us, we are more stable and look at the point and talk about it. And if it's not possible to talk about it, then we treat for a while and I use the tools. For example, I do my writing and then I realize things, or we use the tool together. Yeah, we sit down, we use our TT together and really like uncharge, is it a word, to the words that we were using in the argument, and then talk about the topic again. And it changed the starting point of how we look at the situation. And what's really, really cool that we can come to a humorous expression way faster, that we really like. This is so cool when you have a situation and you argue in a way, but then you can come to a point where we laugh about it together. And it's not that one feels offended by the other. It's more like really we're on the same page because we know, hey, we're on the same team. We agreed on the same principles. We have the same values. We really go into the same direction, and nothing nothing can be so important or take so much space that we argue about it for a long time, right? So this is so cool. It's really most of the time easy and quick to solve a situation and to come to a new perspective and a new conclusion together. And in the past, it took way more time, and you're in the emotion and in the heat of the situation, and it took way more time to stabilize, to come down, and even to come on the same page again. So that changed a lot. Yeah.
Wow. I think that is absolutely incredible. And that is honestly, if every relationship could have that,
Yeah.
oh, wow, what a difference just like that would make in the world, right? I mean, whether it's partners, in that romantic committed sense, or whether it's with friendships or a family or coworkers, if we could just have all of those come in like that when it comes to disagreements and communicating, it would just drastically change the world overnight, I think.
It's possible. It's definitely possible if we just like really align the words that we are using and like being clear about the word that we are using, and realizing that if we have an argument, we'll probably have a different interpretation of words here because it's all based in words. I mean, we're just arguing with words, right? Sometimes it goes no, but it's all based in words, and we can create this if we really understand as human how important words are and how deep they are ingrained within us and how we use them. Because I mean, obviously you're an adult and you're talking and you use the words. It's so normal for you. You think I use the words and the other person talks the same language, and so everyone understanding each other. But it's not like this. Like, this is why we have so much arguments. This is why we turn our backs and walk in different directions. This is why it is this way. I think everyone who listens to this has at least experienced a relationship breakup, or with friends breakup, or with family. Like, it's so normalized today that we just break up and we just end the relationship here. But we really, we should question this. And really, like, as you said, like, we all learn to base our relationships on feelings. But why do we have these feelings in the first place? Why are you giving me this specific feeling? And, like, it's so easy to say, you make me this feeling. And this is how society is kind of created today, that we say the other person gives me this feeling and I cannot stand it anymore, and this is why I break up with you. But is it really this way? Like, are we really self-honest in this? Or am I able to question where this feeling comes from? And why do I think that the other person gives me this feeling? Like, can really another person give me a feeling, or was it already within me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true, because really, you can only be affected by what you allow yourself to be affected by, right? I mean,
Exactly.
aside from physical pain, like, you know, you break your leg, that's a physical thing, you're going to feel it. But yeah, if somebody's making you angry or making you happy, is it really that person who's doing it, or is it yourself who's allowing your to be influenced into an emotion and reacting in a way, right?
And it's so interesting because in my spiritual path, and what I learned in a lot of different spiritual teachings, was exactly that. Yeah, that it all comes from yourself. So when you're triggered, you have to bring it back to yourself. But in this teachings, I never learned to understand on a deeper level, how do I create this within myself? And because there was this lack of understanding, it was, through all the years, it was so easy to point it on the other person. It was so easy to, you are to blame for this. Yeah, you created this fight we're having here. You are creating the situation. Like, it's so easy to fall into the same pattern again and again and again, when you're not understanding how you create this within yourself. And this is the fundamental difference we have. What we are doing here, that we really understand how this whole patterns work within ourselves. And I think this is also where then the responsibility comes in, because when you don't understand it, it's also hard to take the responsibility, because it's like a veil. For me, I really like this image of a veil that I couldn't look behind it. I just couldn't look behind it. It was just closed. And the longer I walk this process, the more I could just put it away and see through my own patterns, and we're more and more able to take responsibility for the reactions that I had, and also learn to question the blame points, that I blame Bastian, or I blame my parents, or I blame, like, really, how can I can handle it differently now. And this is, it's so interesting, because it goes hand in hand with the emotional stability, with learning to deal in a different way with emotions, to be able to talk it out, to verbalize it, but also the whole process we do with the words, right? That we kind of clear the words within us, and come to a point where we use words in a very specific and clear way, that in the past, like as a child, as a teenager, I didn't have the words for it. There were just this overwhelming emotions and the anger, and I was through all the years, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why I have this emotions and it feels so overwhelming, and I cannot handle it. So that was me back then. And yeah, it's so cool that we can give to the kids at a very, very young age, and we see it in the group, yeah, how stable the kids are. This is so cool. They learn from a very young age to understand this emotional energies they have in their body, and they, through the support of the parents and through the stability of the parents, they learn it to deal in a very different way with it. And it's, if you learn it from a young age, it's not necessarily that it accumulates so much, as I realized, like as I experienced it, that I had no understanding, no one explained me, and it was just a huge accumulation of all this emotional energies, and I felt just overwhelmed through my whole life, yeah. And this is so different now, what we see in the kids, that it don't need to build up so intense that it creates this extreme consequences for life. Like it really creates consequences when you deal with a lot of anger, for example, and you do stupid things when you're drunk and stuff like that. So it don't need to be this way. And in this sense, for me, it's like whole humankind is in an emotional state of a, I don't know, like a 3 or 4 year old, and we really have to reparent ourselves to learn and to understand what these emotions are, and find a more wholesome or a more, like, yeah, healthy way to to um work with these energies we have within ourselves. Like, but we have to start to question it first within us. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, you're about to have a baby very
Yeah,
soon. How is this going to be different for you raising your child than how you were being raised?
I love this question. I love this question because I mean, at the end of the day, I have to wait till she's here and then figure things out, right?
Yeah.
I did this. I held this bullshit story within myself for so many years. Like, I have to be perfect before I can be a mom. It's not working this way. So this is why I'm 41 now and having my first child. So that was a long journey for me to come to this point. But still, dealing with my own emotions, being able to communicate them, being able to stabilize myself, using my breath, like directing myself in a way, different way through my daily living, will help me to be a role model. Like, actually the role model I always wanted to be, and I had wished that my mom and my parents would have been able to be, because they were also overwhelmed with the emotion. They just suppressed everything. I'm sure that's the reason why they died so early, because they're just suppressing everything and eating, yeah, like trying to cope with cigarettes and beer. So I learned to not suppress. Yeah, it's not about suppression. It's not about not having emotions, but it's about to talk about it, to verbalize it, and to find a way how we can walk through them. So that would be a huge part. The other thing is the whole education part, because that was also a starting point for Bastian and me leaving Germany. I knew for many, many years, I really don't want to send my kids to school, because school for me was really, really traumatizing. And for me, it came out, I'm just stupid. So that was my belief about myself. I'm stupid. And yeah, I really wanted to do anything that's possible for me to create an environment where my kids don't have to grow up with such bullshit beliefs about themselves, right? So like having the education in place, I know we have the best education tool, and I learned so much from the other moms in the group that it's, yeah, just with a couple of minutes you start at a very young age, and the rest of the day you're really focusing on living and being physical with the kid. Yeah, this is a crucial point. In a lot of points, Bastian and I, we are really on the same page. Like, don't using like the screens with the kids, and creating an environment where they not exposed to so much, influence that we see a lot of kids have today with being exposed to screens. And a lot of kids are really, like, their brains are really fucked up at a very young age when they are exposed to those specific, like, there are series for kids. It's a lot of stimulation, and it's like the kids don't really learn to direct themselves through daily living and do something meaningful, right? So this is something I know we are on the same page, Bess and I. We don't have like TVs, for example, in the house, and obviously we're watching a movie once in a while, yeah, but this is something where we're very, very clear on that we don't expose the kids on this stuff so much. And what else? Yeah, I think it's really the emotional stability and the clarity about the education, what we want to give to the kids. Also the principles, like an understanding about the principle. That was, I think, every child, like when I was a kid, every child wanted to change something in the world. Every child wanted to save the animals, save the planet. This is really so natural for the kids. They see that we really have to take care for our environment. Yeah, I don't know if it's with the kids today. I really don't know how the kids there, the current system, they might be so distracted with the screens and with the entertainment they're getting, that I don't know if they are still this. But in the 70s, 80s, there was like, for us it was normal. But then you grow up and then you lose this sense of I want to change something. And most of the adults, like, really, we don't believe in this anymore. Like, we cannot change. It's life, it is as it is. Then this is what I saw within my parents. They were just, we cannot change it. It's the way it is. And like, kind of an what is it, disempowerment, or disappointment. And there's another word I'm looking for. What's the opposite of empowerment? It's just disempowerment, right?
Disempowerment, yeah.
Or feeling
adequate, or
like, I think most of the people that don't, they think they just cannot change something. It is just the way it is, and they just follow along the path that were walked before them, right? So and if I imagine, just I would grow up with the principles that we have in place, and with an understanding of we can really change something, and with this deep deeper understanding about creation, how we create things. My whole life would unfold differently, and I know that when you can support a human from a very young age to understand these fundamental principles in living, they will be able to create a complete different life. They don't need to go the path of destruction as I did, like 20, 30 years of my life. Yeah. So I have to I had to work a lot on all the traumas and to come to a point where I'm now stable. But the kids we see today, with this starting point we have, they are able to create themselves and express themselves in a complete different way. And that brings them into positions that, we will see it in the next couple of years. That it will be beautiful to see how we can create as families and as a group together to really have an impact on more people, to see that it's not all like, I cannot change, I have no influence, like a lot of people do live today, right? So I think living that as a role model for the kids gives them a complete different starting point.
Wow. There's just so much here to like sit with and just like like just really just enjoy it, right? Like I want to just sit here and just enjoy everything that we've just been talking about here. But I do want to ask you, if you went back to your 10-year-old self and were to give her some advice, what advice would you give her?
I knew that the question would come because I watched some episodes, and it's so funny because I was thinking about the question, and I know that most of the answers before were like, find Technotutor, find Brenner Pullman, find Destiny, and honestly, it's really the same for me. Because if I could have saved some time, like 10 or 20 years, I would be at a different, maybe I would already be mom of 3 or 4 kids, right? I really had the plus 30 years in this old thinking, in this old programming, in this old, like, everything I told you before about my story, what the story I told about myself, right? And now, during the last 4 years, I was really able to rewrite the whole story on a fundamental level. And if I could go back to my 10 years old, I really would tell her, find Technotutor. Because if I would be able to use this tool many years before, it would bring my, I don't know, it would just save so much time in this process. And maybe, like, just imagine with 41 now, what influence or position I could have already. Like, now I will have it with 50, maybe 45. I don't know, like, what is possible in 5 years, what is possible in 10 years. We know that at one point we have to go into politics. We have to like bring people to a deeper understanding that they have to choose. We cannot change things through violence, or a revolution. We never change something fundamentally with a revolution or with violence. It's not working. Or will never change something in the world. So we have to come to a point where we are able to influence people on a cognitive level, that people agree and understand, this is common sense, and they have to choose it, right? And if you tell me that I would go or be interested in politics, like, even a couple of years ago, I would say, no, politics, I'm not interested at all. It's just all theater. It's bullshit. You can never have an influence there. I have no sense at all for this topic, right? But now I do see and I learn more and more that it's necessary. If you want to change something, we have to do it on a political level as well, right? Because this is how we created the system in the first place. And to change the system, it's kind of paradox, but we have to use the system to change it in a way. And we have to make people like come on the same page, that they realize we created this. we created this as humans, so we can change it. And yeah, again, it starts with me. I had to start with changing myself. And this is a fundamental and very intense journey you walk. But then when you open up for changing something more, and in the outer world, you have to find ways to do it. And it can only be with agreement and that people see what we're talking about, that they realize it makes sense. It's practical. It's doable. It's a doable path we have here, and to be able to do it, we have to be very good communicators, I guess, to transport it to the people. And for me, also, like, for example, we're living in a Spanish-speaking country now. I'm still learning Spanish. I'm not that fluently as I'm in English, right? So, and yeah, it's also important to reach the people locally, to be able to speak their language, right? And yeah, if you can learn at a faster pace, it saves you some time. So I'm still like unfolding the potential of learning, that I realize I can read so much faster now after 4 years. And even my English, I was not that fluent in English before I started TT, yeah. And now after 4 years, I can just chat with you for hours. And obviously I have some words to look for, and I'm not that perfect as I might be in German, but I know that will change a lot. And I know that in 5 years and in 10 years, I will speak Spanish fluently. That's not a question for me at all, because I have the tool with which I can learn everything I want to learn in my life. So this is the coolest thing. Yeah, everyone should have it in the house.
Well, I was going to ask if there's any last piece of advice or anything else you want to share, but maybe, I don't know, like, please, if there's more that you want to share with us, or any more advice you want to give us, please share.
That's a good question. What else? Yeah, what comes to my mind now is what's been so valuable for me was really diving deeper into the whole understanding between the male and the female relationship, and how we're supposed to be together and create together. And I also have a long journey where I completely missed my point. Like, I had no feminine role models, not really. I felt like I had a masculine expression within myself. And it brought me to a point, like, I did a bunch of really stupid things in my life because I was not into my feminine expression, into my understanding about what I carry within myself, that I give life to. Yeah, I create life with my body. Like, it sounds so normal, or like a little placative, but it's really, when you grow up as a child, understanding what it's meant to be a woman, was it meant to be a man, it's really profound for your whole life. And when we grow up and creating relationships with a starting point, it enables us to create like a so fulfilling life. What I have now with Bastian, it's so deeply fulfilling. And this is also something we will give to our kids. Yeah, we live this now. And before, I was falling from relationship to relationship and had breaks up, and like always looking and searching and never satisfied, and like so confused with the whole idea of man and woman. And I think it's a good advice to learn more about this, and how yeah, how beautiful it is if we open ourselves to create a relationship based on agreements, and we really commit each other to walk the path together. This is really, yeah, for me, really profound, and it opens up so much more possibilities and a power. You create a power within your system with each other that that's the coolest thing. Yeah.
I think that is just wonderful. Like what you this whole conversation we've had is wonderful. And I know people are going to get some golden nuggets out of it. And there's probably people who are going to go back and listen again because they might not have caught it the first time around. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing and just being so open about everything with me and with anybody who's listening. I truly appreciate it. And like I said, I know there's a lot of really good points in here, and somebody is going to take something from this today. So thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you for the space, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Kat.